Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We are in Surah Al-Saffat. Ayah number 75. Ayah 75. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولقد نادانا نوح فلنعم المجيبون ونجيناه وأهله من الكرب العظيم. Indeed, we had cried out to Nuh. We had called Nuh, and then he was such a good person who responds, meaning his response was so good. We called him out to deliver the message of Tawheed, worshipping one God throughout the earth. Nuh alayhi salam had an incredibly long life, as we know, 950 years, which would have given him so much time to travel the world. I'm sure in 950 years you can travel the world a few times over. So wherever there were human beings, he went and delivered the message, wherever they were. So in this sense, the message of Nuh is global, but it was restricted by time. It was only in the time that he was allotted, which is 950 years. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that he is such a good responder. فَلَنِعْمَ الْمُجِيبُونَ. He was so good in responding to our call towards him. And obviously if you're going to respond for 950 years, you need tremendous patience, perseverance, stamina, energy, determination, willpower. All of those attributes you need in order to deliver the message century after century. Century after century, you're delivering the same message. So there's obviously a lot of monotony there. That you're delivering the same message. A lot of patience. So the stamina that Nuh alayhi salam showed while he was delivering the message is quite incredible, and this is why Allah says, فَلَنِعْمَ الْمُجِيبُونَ. Such a good responser is he that he responded with this amount of perseverance, willpower, determination, and also straightforwardness, and he remained on course. He did not falter, nor did he ask for another mission. Usually after trial and error you say, well, this mission is not working, so give me another mission. Huh? That's what you do in corporate America, right? This is not working, so let's do something else. But this is not trial and error, this is the message of Tawheed. That doesn't change, it's not contextual. Okay, so belief in Allah, belief in the Nabi, belief in the Akhirah is not contextual. It is acontextual, that even for almost 1,000 years nothing in the message changed. And he went everywhere and delivered the message. Yeah. So as he delivered the message, there are those who refused to believe in him, and they were in the majority, and they were warned that a flood would come, and when the flood came, they were all now taken away, and they perished basically. وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ مِنَ الْكَرْبِ الْعَظِيمِ. And we delivered him, we saved him and his family from a great tragedy, al-karb al-azim, a huge tragedy. We saved Nuh alayhi salam and his family. The word family refers to the family of believers, as is mentioned in another part of the Quran in Surah Al-Hud. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the story where Nuh alayhi salam asked Allah, "Why did you not save my son? My son is from my family." And Allah said, "Innahu laysa min ahlik." He's not from your family. Meaning there the reference is to the family of believers, not to the bloodline. And that is where we see the first time in human history there's a new definition of family. One is obviously through the blood, and the other is based on faith. So this word ahl here refers to the family of faith and the family in faith. So Allah delivered him and his family in faith from a huge, tremendous tragedy, which was the flood. After he saved them, they then disembarked from the ark from a place called Judi, and they resettled on the earth. وَجَعَلْنَا ذُرِّيَّتَهُ هُمُ الْبَاقِينَ. And then we made his offspring, they were the ones who were the sole survivors. They are the ones who now remained, baqin. So they remained on earth, and everybody else perished, and there were only a few of them. 80 plus people remained on earth, and through those 80 plus human beings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spread humanity a second time. And that is why Nuh alayhi salam is called Abu al-Bashar al-Thani. Abu al-Bashar al-Thani, the second father of humanity. So he was the second father. Adam was the first father. And that is how the second generation of human beings started their story. وَتَرَكْنَا عَلَيْهِ فِي الْآخِرِينَ. And we left him amongst those who now came after him, amongst the later generations. Leaving him means leaving his good name. So we left him with his good name amongst those who came after him. And many generations after him mentioned him with reverence, and they saw him as a Nabi and a Rasul, and they adapted his practices and his deen and his religion and so on. So this is the favor Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to Nuh alayhi salam, that he went through this tremendous time, 950 years, persevered, and then the fruit of that was that he delivered 80 plus people. And that is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now does things. Sometimes it is from one male and female that he raised human beings, Adam and Hawa, and now second time he raised human beings from 80 plus, with Nuh alayhi salam being the head of that family, the family of believers. Salamun ala Nuhin fil alameen. Salam and peace be upon Nuh alayhi salam in all the worlds. In the translation here you say all the peoples of the world, which is slightly different from what the Quran is saying, although he's trying to explain that all the worlds here mean all the people in the world, but it may have a literal meaning also, that in all the worlds where there is existence of those who worship Allah, Allah has sent peace upon Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam, which is probably closer to the Arabic and the original meaning of the word alameen. So wherever there exists people who worship Allah, amongst those people and those communities, Allah is sending His blessings and His salam. upon Nuh alayhi salatu wassalam, that he is a means of peace for all people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now Nuh alayhi salam becomes a prototype of stamina, of determination, of perseverance, a prototype of worship for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Despite all the odds, and that is how he becomes a means of salam and peace for everybody who knows about him. So in the worlds, everybody knows about Nuh alayhi salam. So this will include the angels, and this will include the jinn, and this will include all the worlds, as I said, where people and other beings worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a tremendous fadilah and virtue for Nuh alayhi salam, that after all of this struggle, okay, the reward for Nuh alayhi salam in this world is that we gave him a good name, number one. Number two, we made his existence a means of peace for others, which is a tremendous barakah, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that when the son of Adam dies, then his actions are terminated, except from three. So here we see that the effect and the barakah of prophets go beyond their lives in this world and extends to life in this world also after they leave the world. And that is the sign of a Nabi, that the Nabi's barakah continues. A Nabi doesn't stop delivering Allah's rahmah and Allah's salam, even though he may be in another world, and so on. This is with all the prophets, alayhimu salatu salam. Their existence continues to give barakah to everything else that exists, except the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the last of all prophets, and his barakah surpasses and overrides everybody else's barakah. And that's a slightly different issue. But it is in the same context, the same vein as this ayah, Salamun ala Nuhin fil alameen. So wherever there's alam, wherever there's a world, then the peace is on Nuh, and Nuh's peace echoes around everybody else that knows of him. So he's a means of peace also. Inna kadhalika najzil muhsinin. This is how we do reward those who do good deeds, the muhsin. So Allah is saying this is a reward we are giving to Nuh alayhi salam in this world. The akhirah is different. In this world, the prophets are given reward this way, that their reward comes with them as they exist in the barzakh and in the other world, and they are given this type of reward, which is a good name and tremendous nur and barakah for anyone who knows. And whenever we discuss Nuh alayhi salam, we are benefiting from his life story, and from the details of his mission, and so on. Innahu min ibadina al-mu'minin. Indeed, he is from our believing servants, that he believed in us, and he believed in the divine, and he is someone who believes in the almighty powers of the Supreme Being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala confers upon Musa alayhi salam that he is indeed a believer. This accolade is not a small one. It's very, very deeply rooted in the heavens, and it's also deeply rooted in the Mala'ala, that he is seen amongst those who believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ثُمَّ أَغْرَقْنَا الْآخِرِينَ. And then, along with that, moreover, okay, ثُمَّ here means moreover, we drowned the others who were not believers. We drowned the others. So people who did not believe, we drowned, and people who believed, we saved and we protected. So there are many types of drowning. One is that their name is totally erased from almost all of existence. So the people who drowned, we don't know their names. It's not recorded anywhere in human history who they were. So they drowned completely. They're totally annihilated. And people who were saved, we know them. Okay? So we know Nuh alayhi salam and his family, his one wife and his 3 children. They were there with him. Afterwards, those who came with him, we saved and protected them. And their children now carried their name for a while, and so on. So this is the benefit of saying that he was recorded as being a believer. So now here, the first time in history, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is separating in this world those who believe from those who don't believe. Those who don't believe, they were given this punishment of annihilation. And those who believed were given the reward of remaining, baqeen. Those who remained, they were rewarded as a favor from Allah to extend their lives and do more good work and do more good deeds. وَإِنَّ مِنْ شِيعَتِهِ لَإِبْرَاهِيمَ. And indeed from Nuh alayhi salam's family, okay, there is Ibrahim. Min Shia means family here. It means a group of people, as you know. Here it means family. So from Nuh alayhi salam's family and progeny, there is Ibrahim. So now Nuh alayhi salam is the father of Ibrahim. This in itself is a tremendous tribute and an honor that surpasses all, that his genealogy leads to the birth of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Ibrahim is huge in human history, the father of the 3 religions, as we know, and more than that, a devout muwahhid, monotheist and devout servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whose contributions to human society and civilization are huge. One of those contributions are mentioned here in this passage. إِذْ جَاءَ رَبَّهُ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. So remember now the time when he came to his Lord with a peaceful and sound heart. Salim means peaceful and sound. Not just content, but it was peaceful and it was sound. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Salaam, peace be on Nuh, and from that peace came the peace of heart that came to Ibrahim alayhi salatu salam through the process of Tawheed. That when you have a belief in one creator, one maker, and you are attached to that one creator and maker, you are sound of mind and sound of heart. And this is what Salim means. Salim, the opposite of which is Saqim, which is mentioned here also in the next few ayahs. Saqim is one where it is not sound, unsound and sick. Right? Salim, which is sound and not sick, meaning adulterated and, what's the word? Putrid. That's the word. So when you have a sound heart, you will believe in one God. Those who don't believe in one God don't have a sound heart. That's the conclusion he must make, theologically and ethically and morally. In the shirk al-dhulm al-azim, shirk is a tremendous form of injustice. So if you have injustice in your heart, then you're not sound. You're more like unsound or perhaps even insane. Yeah. So we see that the Quranic use of the word Salim goes very, very far into the human psyche, that the qalb of Ibrahim a.s. was sound and pure, that it removed all pollutants of shirk. So you have shirk, which is you believe in another God besides Allah, you worship idols. Okay, that is shirk. But then you have also pollutants of shirk that hover around and attack the heart. Okay, these pollutants are the bad deeds, the bad thoughts, evil ideas and evil ideals. These are the pollutants. So Ibrahim a.s. managed to fend off all such pollutants and kept his heart sound, which is on the fitrah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. So Ibrahim al-Islam represents this figure in history, as now the Quran speaks about how he protected his heart. So another word for Salim, or another component of Salam, this is protected. He protected his own heart from being adulterated with pollutants from society and pollutants from his own mind, the impurities and so on. Pollutants from society is mentioned here. إِذْ قَالَ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ مَاذَا تَعْبُدُونَ. So remember the time when he said to his father and his people, what is this you are worshipping? So he saw them in temples. As a young boy, he saw them worshipping statues and idols that they had now made with their own hands, that they have carved with their own hands. His father, his profession was this, as we know, or his uncle, whoever it was. So he now is asking and questioning the validity of their worship. How are you worshipping this now? His mind is sound, is not adulterated, is not polluted by societal values and the cultural significances of life. He is questioning them. He stands tall as a young boy. ماذا تعبدون? What are you worshipping here? And obviously he's full of wit. So he has a go at them also. He teases them, and then he offends them, and then he insults them, and then he breaks the idols. All in that order. He's teasing them here. ماذا تعبد? What are you doing? So a bit of wit and sarcasm doesn't hurt. It's fine. Can't be that serious. In life, bring some sarcasm into the discussion. ماذا تعبد? What the heck is this? ماذا تعبد? Ifkan. Ifkan. Fabrication. This is a lie. This is nonsense. Alihatan. Dun Allah. Turidun. That is it a God besides Allah that you wish? You actually think there's a God besides Allah. Now you have to remember that he's born into this culture of shirk. That's in his surroundings. He's polluted by this. The temples are there. And his father takes him from day one to the temples, and his mother is there, and his aunts, uncles, all there. The whole tribe is there. And all they do is worship idols. And so that's the only worship he knows from society. But the Quran makes it a point to show that despite being in that cesspit of shirk, he remains pure, to identify human beings with the fitrah, that the fitrah, the natural disposition of tawheed upon which Allah created every human being, has to be preserved at all times. And on the Day of Judgment, Allah will bring Ibrahim as a proof against those who say, oh, I was born into this one and that one and that one. So, well, look at Ibrahim. How did he manage to preserve his fitrah, even though he was born into idol worshipping, and even though he was regularly frequenting the idols through force by his father, but he maintained the rationality of Tawheed as a young boy, and he maintained that everything was false. Ifkan is a fabrication. فَمَا ظَنُّكُمْ بِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So what do you think about the Lord of the worlds? So this nur of fitrah he preserved, and the nur of aql, of the mind, the sound mind he preserved, and it is through that nur, which was before prophethood, not afterwards. Before prophethood he preserved, and then he exposed, and he made sure that he spoke of it, and he contested the whole idea that there's another God besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the universe. Right, so now you must appreciate that all of this, obviously, this is after Ad and Thamud, okay, and many generations after Ad and Thamud. You have this Babylonian, Iraqi civilization, and in that civilization there was this culture of statue worshipping, idol worshipping, and in that culture the idea of seeing anyone else besides God himself was ludicrous. but he maintains his fitrah, and he talks to them in a manner that he talks to them. What do you think about, what is your thought about the Lord of the worlds, the one who created you and created your fathers and created the statues and everything else? He is their Lord also. He is your Lord, he is my Lord, and so on. Yes, the issue of lordship, as you know, is huge in Islam. فَنَظَرَ نَظْرَةً فِي النُّجُومِ. So that with all, as you know, with the people who worship idols and statues, they become very festive civilization. They're very festive. They like festivities, right? Because they're pagan. They enjoy life in the name of shirk or whatever. And they have these rituals and they have these customs that require that you do things. Every idol has a different mode and form of worship. So that creates festivity, and that creates a culture of celebration, and that creates an understanding that is very, very false. So in that particular culture, they were into idol worshipping, but they were also into soothsaying, and they were also into worshipping the celestial beings. Okay, so they were into astronomy, more than that, astrology. Right? That's just a reflection of their shirk. So if you're going to make shirk on earth, you're going to make shirk in the heavens. This is normal. Right? So there's terrestrial shirk, where you worship idols, and there's celestial shirk, where you worship things and beings in the heavens. So that they were guilty of both. What they had on land and what they saw in the heavens. That these things, meaning the stars in the heaven, they have the ability to regulate your life. That's what they believed. They're more like astrology than astronomy. But they understood the stars, the motions of the stars, and all of that. Okay. So Ibrahim, as I said, very witty. Okay. He was supposed to go with them to a festival in the wilderness where they would worship the sun, the moon, and the stars, and so on, along with whatever idols they packed with them. So at this one time, he said, I'm going to play you. So now he's talking in their language. You must understand this language of the Quran. So if you take apart this ayah outside of the surah, outside of the context, he will say that he's into astrology. He's not talking about that. He's talking in the language. So what is their language? Their language is one of astrology. So he says, فَنَظَرَ نَظْرَةً فِي النُّجُومِ. He took one glance, looked at the stars, one glance at the stars and said, إِنِّي سَقِيمٌ. I'm about to be sick. I'm about to be sick. He's playing them. He said, according to my calculations, what I see from my star, I think I'm going to be sick. He's taunting them. You understand what I'm saying? He's not saying, I believe I'm going to be sick. He's saying that based on what you know and what you understand from the stars and the motions of the stars, I think the position of my star is telling me I'm going to be sick. So that's why the Quran says, فَنَظَرَ نَظْرَةً. He took one look. And just to show them, I'm looking there and I'm seeing this. So now obviously, as I said, he's very witty. فَقَالَ إِنِّي سَقِيمٌ. I'm about to be sick. So, because I'm going to be sick, I don't think I should join you, because I'll spoil the party. Okay. You'll be looking after me. I'm still a young boy. Okay. You're going to have to fend for me, and you have to make sure that I'm not sick and so on. So, it's best I remain behind in the town, and my star is telling me I'm going to be sick. Right. Inni saqim. I'm about to be sick. Again, use the context to understand what the Quran is saying. If you bring it out of the context, you will justify astrology. That Ibrahim used astrology to say he was sick. No, look at the language and look at the background and the backdrop, and you'll see that he's saying nothing of the sort. That's just the way you debate. فَتَوَلَّوْا عَنْهُ مُدْبِرِينَ. So they turned away from him, and they went backwards, or wherever they went, meaning they left him behind, so that he would not spoil the party and he would be able to take care of himself in the town while they were gone, enjoying themselves and their festivities. فراغ إلى آلهتهم. Then he went towards their gods. Raga. He went towards their gods and he started to taunt them. فقال ألا تأكلون. He said, why won't you eat? Because the people had left food for the idols which they offered as sacrifice, and the food was still there. Day 1, the food is still there. Day 2, the food is still there. Day 3, the food is now rotten. أَلَا تَأْكُلُونَ. Why aren't you eating? So now he's taunting them also. مَا لَكُمْ لَا تَنْطِقُونَ. What's with you that you don't speak? You have no speech. You don't eat. You don't move. You don't do anything. فَرَاغَ عَلَيْهِمْ ضَرْبًا بِالْيَمِينِ. Then he quickly went and swiftly he advanced against them, a strike with the right hand. So he went and he shattered the idols. He broke the idols. He smashed the idols. Obviously, this is all planned. Right? This is his strategy. He's planning all of this. He's planned all of this. First of all, planning that the idea that he's going to go to the temple and shatter the idols. How does he do this? He plans. As I said, extremely clever young boy. So he takes an axe and he starts to now shatter all the statues and the idols. فَأَقْبَلُوا إِلَيْهِ يَزَفُّونَ. So now after the festival in the wilderness, they come back, his people, and they want to pay homage and respect to their idols, so they go to the temple. And when they see what has happened in the temple, lo and behold, Ibrahim Salaam now starts to taunt them even more. فَأَقْبَلُوا إِلَيْهِ يَزِفُّونَ. They start to fall upon them hurriedly. They go back to the temple. قَالَ أَتَعْبُدُونَ مَا تَنْحِتُونَ. He said that, do you worship something that you have carved yourself from your own hands? You made these idols, and the meaning of a deity is someone who creates. You are worshipping something that is created. And who created this? You. So you're worshipping something that you created yourselves. مَا تَنْحِتُونَ. So he's using this logic, and there's a rational approach to trying to convince them what they're doing is totally false and absurd. وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. Allah has created you and everything you do. So even your carving, Allah has created, and even you, Allah has created. So Allah is the Khaliq, and you are the Makhluq. Allah is the creator, and you are the created. The rule is the inferior worships the superior. Now here the superior is worshipping the inferior, and that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Worship means that you pay respect and homage, and you serve. Then that the thing you are, the being you are serving, must be far superior than you. But this is something you made from your own hands. How can you worship this? So this is one of the passages in the Quran where the Quran depicts the wit of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, and then Ibrahim salam makes this phenomenal statement, Wallahu khalaqakum wa ma ta'malun. Allah has created you and that which you do. So your actions are also created by Allah, and you are created by Allah. Both is Allah's creation. How can you worship something that is created? قَالُوا ابْنُوا لَهُ بُنْيَانًا فَأَلْقُوهُ فِي الْجَحِيمِ. They went into council and they said, what can we do with this kid? What do we do with this kid here? He's causing havoc, and he's now going to destroy everything that we stand for, and he is now in sabotage mode. so now we have to do something to punish him or to get rid of him. So they said that you must build for him a kiln, you must build a building for him, a place where you can now burn him. So they were great builders, so they built this huge place and they lit a fire for 40 days, and in that fire, فَأَلْقُوهُ فِي الْجَحِيمِ, they threw him, they flung him into the blazing fire. So this is how Ibrahim ﷺ delivered the message as a young boy, preserving his fitrah, using his sound mind and his sound heart. Now this is the soundness of the heart that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is explaining. The story, the parable of the story, or the metaphor in the story, is that this represents a sound heart. So a sound heart doesn't falter, it doesn't flutter, and doesn't flicker. It remains sound and constant all the time. So there's an element of constancy there. That Ibrahim Salam doesn't shake or waver when he sees the fire. He's not afraid necessarily that he's going to die. But he maintains his position based on his fitrah and his aql and his heart. So he's sound now, he's sound of heart. فَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَسْفَلِينَ. And then they intended that there would be a plot against them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now says that we made them the lowest of the abased. فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَسْفَلِينَ, we made them the lowest of the low. Okay, meaning they did not succeed in burning him, although they threw him into the fire. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the fire to become cool and peaceful for Ibrahim alayhi salam. قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. The word salam is used there also to show that he had salam in his heart, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extended the salam of his heart into the fire, that the fire became just as peaceful as he was. So the inner peace gives birth to the outer peace. So your inner will definitely influence the outer. Obviously this is a mu'jiza and a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You mustn't do this. You mustn't try this at home. Throw yourself into the fire and see how peaceful you are. You mustn't do that. This is a mu'jiza. But what I'm saying is that the reality is that the peace in his heart resulted in the creation of peace outside of him through Allah's command, Kuni, become. O fire, become cool and peaceful for Ibrahim alayhi salam. And they were just dumbfounded. He's there in the fire, he's there. He survives first of all the first few minutes, and how does one survive that? Then it's a few hours, and then it's a few days. He's in the fire, and then they say, okay, what are we going to do? Let's let him go. Not much we can do. Right? The fire's not burning. So they couldn't make head and tails out of this incident, and even then they did not believe, and that's the meaning of the word فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَسْفَلِينَ. That despite seeing this great miracle, mu'jiza from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they refused to believe in the powers of the divine, and they refused to believe that Allah is his Lord, Ibrahim's Lord, and Allah is their Lord. And that is the tragedy of human beings, that they let go of their aql and their intellect in these times because of arrogance, because of pride, and because of stubbornness. Right? You just become stubborn. I don't care what happens. I don't believe what I'm seeing. And even if I believe what I'm seeing, I'm not believing in the man who has now survived the fire. And I don't want to believe in his God either. So that's a pure rejection and pure arrogance and pure stubbornness, that they became the lowest of the low. Right? That's what it's meant by. We made them into the lowest of the low, so that they would not believe despite being privy to all the powers of creativity in front of them. Yeah. So Ibrahim alayhi salam maintained his fitrah despite being, as I said, in the cesspit of shirk. He maintained his purity of heart and purity of mind. These people were equally stubborn on the other side, in the sense that despite seeing all the visible proofs of creativity and rububiyyah, lordship, they refused to believe, and that is their tragedy. The tragedy is not that they threw him into the fire and he did not burn. The greater tragedy is that they did not believe. Yeah. So this is a parable that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses, that there's Nuh alayhi salatu wasalam's story first, and there's this story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, where he plots and he schemes and he strategizes to show them that what they're doing is totally false and wrong. And then the conclusion is that Allah saves Ibrahim from fire. So Allah saved Nuh from water. Allah saves Ibrahim from fire. So these are the spiritual, angelic elements that are working in the universe, as the surah talks about the angels who line up in ranks. Al-Saffat, Safa. So the angels, they administer Allah's command, and in the case of Nuh alayhi salam, despite being in torrential rain and a storm for 40 days and 40 nights, Allah saved and protected the ship from being capsized and Nuh alayhi salam from being drowned. That's one. And the other is, despite being in a huge, huge blaze of fire for 40 days, they say, Ibrahim alayhi salam was also saved. So now you have two elements. One is water, and the other is fire. They're both exceptionally destructive, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserves those whom He preserves, so that is called Salaam. That's the Salaam, meaning that you give peace. So Nuh alayhi salam's peace is throughout the world. Wherever there are beings who worship Allah, there is peace upon Nuh alayhi salam, and he carries that salam with him. And from this salam came the salam of Ibrahim alayhi salam's heart, the qalb salim. And Ibrahim alayhi salam, through the salam and peace of his heart, was able to manage a huge fire. The fire did not burn him. He was able to live in that fire, remain there for a few days. Some people say for 40 days. Wallahu alam. We don't know the exact amount of time that he spent, but he was saved and delivered from that. So the meaning here is that the angels who are grouped into rows and platoons and columns, they do what Allah wants them to do, as you will see at the end of the surah, inshallah. We will stop here. The next part of the story has to do with Ismail as-salam and the issue of Qurbani. Jazakum Allah khair. We'll see you all soon. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallah wa bihamdi. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka.